Hola y buenos días. Soy el señor Morris. ¿Cómo están? Espero que estén muy bien. Today, we're going to do a lot of different things. We're going to review the family members that we've talked about, and we're going to learn a poem. But let's begin, as we always do, with our greeting song. Canten conmigo. Buenos días, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo están? Muy bien, gracias, muy bien, gracias. ¿Y usted? ¿Y usted? Good morning, good morning. How are you? How are you? Very well, I thank you. Very well, I thank you. And you. And you. Muy bien. Well, as I said, we're going to start off by reviewing all the things that we've talked about. And I imagine that by now, many of you are saying, Oi, Senor Morris, we know all of those things so well that we don't have to review again. So instead of going over everything, why don't you review with this video? Remember to pay attention and repeat everything. Ahora, presten atención y repitan todos.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Estoy bien, gracias. ¿Y usted?
Bien, gracias. Buenos días, ¿cómo estás?
Más o menos. ¿Y usted?
Bien, gracias.
Hola, Karina. ¿Cómo estás? Muy mal. Lo siento. Hola, yo soy un niño. Me llamo David.
Hola, yo soy una niña. Me llamo Andrea.
Hola, ¿cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Andrea. ¿Y tú? ¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo David. ¿Hablas español?
Sí, un poco. ¿Y tú?
Sí.
Now, last lesson, we talked about many family members in Spanish. Let's see how well you remember them. The first man we talked about was this, the father, and he's called el papá. Repitan. And then we talked about the mother, and we said she's called la mamá. Can everyone say that? Then we talked about the sister, and we said the sister is called la hermana. Repitan, la hermana. And we looked at the brother, who is el hermano. Repitan. We also talked about your father's or your mother's father, who is the grandfather, or el abuelo. Repitan. El abuelo. And your father or your mother's mother is la abuela. Repitan. Now, if your father or mother have a brother, he'd be your uncle. And in Spanish we say el tío. Repitan. And we said that if your father or mother have a sister, she would be your aunt or la tía. And remember that all of the women start with la and all of the men start with el, right? And we said that if your aunt and uncle have children, they'd be your cousins. If it's a boy cousin, we'd call him el primo. Repitan, el primo. And if it's a girl cousin, we'll call her la prima. Repitan. All right. Well, speaking of family members, I know a rhyme that's kind of like the rhyme patty cake, but it's in Spanish, and it's talking about corn cakes, which in Mexico and some other Spanish-speaking countries are called tortillas, or tortillitas, if they're very small. Now, in this poem, you'll also hear some family members mentioned. I'm going to recite the rhyme, and I'd like for you to clap along with me. Now, when we clap our hands, we don't clap like this. We'll clap like we're making the tortillas by hand, like this. Have you ever taken Play-Doh and made it flat? Okay, so we're going to clap like this. If you already know the rhyme, you can say it along with me. Now, listen carefully for the family members who are mentioned, and I'll ask you afterward to tell me who they were. This is called tortillitas. It goes like this. Help me clap. Tortillitas de manteca para mamá que está contenta. Tortillitas de cacao para papá que está enojado. Tortillitas de maíz para bebé que está feliz. All right. Now, did you hear any of the family members mentioned in that poem? Raise your hand and tell your teacher. Teachers, did they mention mama? Did they mention mama? And someone else? Papa. That's right. And we haven't studied this, but there's another one, bebe. And that sounds kind of like the word in English, baby. And that's what that's talking about. Now that poem, along with all of the other poems and songs that we use here in the Spanish instruction, are found in the teacher's guide and in the student resource notebook. So you can look there if you want to go over that again. Now we've talked about a lot of family members. Now I have some new questions about family members. The first one is, ¿cuántos hermanos tienes? Do you see the question here? ¿Cuántos hermanos tienes? And you can tell this is a question because it has a question mark right there at the end. But look here at the beginning. It has an upside down question mark at the beginning. And that's what they do in Spanish. That tells you it's a question right at the start of the sentence. Okay? Now, do you recognize any of the words here? ¿Cuántos hermanos tienes? Well, hopefully you should recognize this one, hermanos. And we said hermano means brother. Okay? Hermanos in Spanish can mean brothers or sisters. So brothers or sisters. ¿Cuántos means how many? And tienes means do you have? So ¿cuántos hermanos tienes means how many brothers and sisters do you have? Well, what if we ask another question? How about this question? ¿Cuántos primos tienes? What family member are we asking about in that sentence? Yeah, that's right, cousins. Now, one of the things that you're going to have to be able to do to answer that question is count in Spanish. Okay? So, let's go ahead and go over the numbers in Spanish. I'm going to tell you, and you repeat after me. Uno. Repitan. Dos. Tres. Cuatro. Repitan todos. Cinco. Seis. Siete. Ocho. Nueve. Repitan. 10. Now, one thing that might help you remember the numbers is to sing them. Let's do that right now, and we're just going to sing the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 y 10. Hey, very good. I'd like for you to review once more with this video. Pongan atención y repitan todos.
Los números. 1, 2,
3, 4,
5,
6, 7,
8,
9,
10.
Muy bien. I hope you all got a chance to repeat after those números or numbers, because that's the best way to learn it, is just by practicing and using it a lot. Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead now and look at our activity sheet to see if we can answer some questions using the numbers. Start off by putting your name up at the top. And remember, if you can write your name in Spanish, that's terrific. R-O-B-E-R-T-O. Me llamo Roberto. I call myself Roberto. Es mi nombre. It's my name. Yeah. Well, now, this activity sheet is ¿Cuántos tienes? And remember, that was the question we were talking about. How many do you have? Well, the instructions say count the number of family members in each picture. Answer the question by writing the number in Spanish on the line. Well, to help you out with that, we've got down here in the key all of the numbers written out. Okay? Uno, or una sometimes. Dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, 8, 9, 10. Well, let's go on up here and see if we can answer this first question. The first question is, ¿Cuántos primos tienes? ¿Cuántos primos tienes? And you remember what primos is asking about? Well, primo means boy cousin. Primos means boy cousins or girl cousins. So, ¿cuántos primos tienes? Well, let's count. Everybody help me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when somebody asks you ¿Cuántos primos tienes? If you have this many, you'll say tengo, and then you'll answer with the number. Tengo 5. Tengo 5. Everybody go ahead and write that down for number 1. Let's look at the next one. There you go. ¿Cuántos hermanos tienes? And remember, this was the question that we asked. ¿Cuántos hermanos tienes? Now, hermano means a brother, but once someone asks you ¿Cuántos hermanos tienes? That means how many brothers and sisters do you have? Well, help me count here. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. So if someone asks you ¿Cuántos hermanos tienes? And you have this many, you'll answer by saying, tengo tres. Tengo tres. Go ahead and write that word down on your sheet. Tengo tres hermanos. Right? I have 3 brothers and sisters. This next one asks, ¿cuántas hermanas tienes? Now, hermanas, do you remember what that is? Hermanas is asking, how many sisters do you have? ¿Cuántas hermanas tienes? And will you help me count, please? 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go ahead and write that down here. Tengo cuatro. Tengo 4 hermanas. Go ahead and write that down on your sheet. Okay, ¿cuántas hermanas tienes? And there's one last question over here. This one says, ¿cuántas primas tienes? ¿Cuántas primas tienes? Do you remember what prima is? Prima is a girl cousin. And when it asks ¿cuántas primas tienes? It's asking how many girl cousins do you have? Well, will you help me count this, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 primas. So down here you'll say, tengo 7. So go ahead and write that word down on your activity sheet, right there at the last one. All right. Well, we've done a lot of things today. Some review, we learned a new poem, and we started to talk about the numbers. Pero ahora es hora de la despedida. It's time to go. Remember to keep practicing these things, okay? Ask each other the questions that we've been talking about, and practice answering the questions in Spanish. Ahora vamos a cantar nuestra canción de despedida, our goodbye song. Canten conmigo. Adiós, queridos amigos, que les vaya muy, muy bien. Adiós, queridos amigos, y cuídense también. Until our next class, adiós y hasta luego.